On Larry King Now, actress and entrepreneur Brooklyn Decker.
I think when you start in any field as a newbie, but with a little bit of a name, you're not allowed to make the same mistakes that you would coming up in, say, acting school, film school, or theater. So I was making my mistakes as a new actor on a relatively large stage, which I think is really nerve-wracking. Our company is funded by women, founded by women, and run by women, which is incredibly unusual. And I think as women, again, because there's so few of them in tech, they really do come together and support, fund, and help. He had a reputation for having a bit of an attitude on court, so I kind of thought that as a father, he would be the disciplinarian. I'm the disciplinarian. He's a total softie with our son, which is scary.
Plus, you ever miss modeling?
No, never. No.
Not at all?
Never, no. No.
It's all next on Larry King Now. Welcome, making her second appearance on Larry King Now with the greatest name in show business, Brooklyn Decker. She shot to fame as a supermodel and has since found her lane in the world of acting. Starring in films like Battleship and Just Go With It, as well as TV shows like Friends with Better Lives and The League, she returns in her third season of the hit comedy Grace and Frankie. That's available now on Netflix. Outside of Hollywood, Brooklyn is venturing into the tech world with the launch of the new wardrobe operating system site, Finery. It's good to have you back, Brooklyn.
Thank you for having me.
Since I'm from Brooklyn, how were you named again? I forgot your previous
It's a terrible
answer.
Story, and I should change it to make it more flashy. I was named after a horse. My mom's friend had a horse named Brooke. My dad loved the name. And as a joke, he said, why don't we name her Brooklyn? And it stuck. And so I grew up in North Carolina. I had never been to New York with the name Brooklyn. It's very strange.
Have you been to Brooklyn?
I actually ended up moving to Brooklyn because I felt like I had to do it. You know, I had to live there once. It's beautiful.
Brooklyn is the hidden world now. Boy, it's now.
Well, now it's super fancy. It's I know. We were there. It was kind of turning into Stroller Central when we moved there. I was in Dumbo a few years back, and I loved it.
I had a friend who said he couldn't get into Brooklyn, so he moved to Park Avenue.
That's exactly right.
What's it like working on the Grace and Frankie thing?
It's pretty incredible. Our four leads are Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin, Martin Sheen, and Sam Waterston, so you might have heard of them. It's a really incredible cast, and so to be a part of it, you know, we have the third season out now, and you would think by now you'd get used to it, but you don't. It's still, every day you're there, you just can't imagine you're working with these legends.
You're Jane's daughter, right?
Exactly.
Were you there from the start?
I was, yes. Yep.
And then you work with Lily and her, right?
Yep, exactly.
What's that like?
It's a lot of fun. You know, this season 3 that just came out, I get stoned with Jane Fonda on camera, which is something I never thought I'd be able to say, that I got stoned with Jane Fonda. Fake stoned, of course. But that was a career highlight. Well, you know, we got to be professional. We're on set. But you know, because our show is a dramedy, you have these sort of heavier moments with your family, but it's all wrapped up in kind of a funny package. We get to do things like get stoned together, which is, again, fake stoned. But
how do you like working with Netflix?
They're wonderful. You know, they have this reputation for kind of being a hands-off network, which is sort of what they're serving as on our show. They're wonderful. They let you take all the creative liberties that you want. They're at every table read, so they're giving their input. By now, obviously, they know it works. But they let the creatives take control. And I think, you know, I came from a network show, and I loved that. But it's definitely a different, freer experience working with Netflix.
Any word on a fourth season?
Maybe. I cannot say. I will be fired if I say.
As an actor, as an outlet, is Netflix just as reputable as the networks? I mean, do you find it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if not
even
more.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think now television is really in this sort of golden era where, you know, television shows are being nominated, or miniseries are being nominated and winning Oscars, which I don't know that we ever thought we'd see before. And that's a very recent shift. You know, television creating their own content a few years ago was an idea out of left field that no one thought would actually ever happen.
Internet shows like this, we get nominated for Emmys.
That's exactly right. I mean, I think now good content is good content no matter where it comes from. So as an artist, it's...
You ever miss modeling?
No, never. No.
Not at all?
Never. No. No.
I hear it's more inclusive than ever. There's LGBT models.
Yes, I think now it's entirely different. When I started modeling 12 years ago, and I was modeling at a time when trends dictated, I think, more than anything, if you got work. And I think now it's super inclusive. I think different body styles are in. I think people from several different countries and backgrounds and, socioeconomic statuses are in now. So I think fashion's changed significantly for the better. When I was modeling, it was still about being incredibly tiny. At the time, Americans weren't in vogue, which was really interesting. So for me, I didn't love the experience, but I do think now it's a lot better.
What kind of modeling did you do?
Mostly the kind where you take your clothes off because...
What do you mean?
Well, like swimsuit modeling. No, but I, again, was modeling at a time when your size was so important. So I was, quote unquote, too big for fashion at the time, which was kind of crazy. So I used to just sort of be put into like a swimsuit lingerie category. Obviously now it's very different. You have several different sizes walking down the runway.
Sports Illustrated?
I was, which was wonderful. Sports Illustrated is the exception to the rule. They really are. They, I think, for years have been giving girls a platform and talking about girls by their name, which sounds like it's very easy, but was very unusual at the time. And they give you a platform, and so they were kind of my launching pad.
And they shoot in great places, right?
Oh my gosh.
Where
you go to
did
the
you
Maldives.
shoot?
I shot in Cartagena. I shot in the Maldives. I shot in Arizona, of all places. We went to, they shoot in Australia and Italy and Spain and all over. I don't think they did Antarctica 3 years ago.
Antarctica?
Yeah, I don't think there's a place that they haven't been. Actually, that should be a challenge. They actually tried to shoot in space with Kate Upton. They did like the zero gravity space thing with her. So there's no place they haven't been.
Was the transition to acting easy for you?
Yes and no. No, because I think when you start in any field as a newbie, but with a little bit of a name, you're not allowed to make the same mistakes that you would coming up in, say, acting school, film school, or theater. So I was making my mistakes as a new actor on a relatively large stage, which I think is really nerve-wracking and can, set you up for failure. However, I had doors open to me because I was a model. I could get into rooms and get into auditions because I had a little bit of a name. So I can't really bite the hand that fed me. It gave me my chance.
Next, Brooklyn is taking her talents from Hollywood to the tech world, and we'll learn about her newest pursuit, Finery. I love the name. When we return. We're back with Brooklyn Decker. She's a tremendous person, great, wonderful actress. Now, what is Finery?
Finery is the world's first operating system for your wardrobe. So we have management systems for our calendar, for our email, for our travel, for our banking, but there's nothing out there for your wardrobe. And women will spend more money on their clothing than they'll spend on their education. And it's not because they love fashion, it's because you can't leave your house naked. You have to get dressed. So we've created the world's first operating system to manage all of your purchases.
How does it work?
We gather all of your online purchases from the last 10 to 12 years through email confirmations, and then we put them in one uniform cataloged site for you so that you can see everything you've purchased in the last 10 to 12 years. You can work within it, so you can create outfits. You can, for example, if you have the Larry King show, right, and then you have a wedding tomorrow, and then you have a job interview the next day, you can add outfits to your calendar so that you'll get alerts when you want to figure out what to wear.
Men and women, or mostly women?
It's geared towards women, but the technology works for both.
What inspired it?
Well, women spend 2 hours a week figuring out what they want to wear. And again, it's not because they necessarily want to be thumbing through the dusty clothes in their closet, it's because they have to. And so we had to find a better way. We figured if there's all this technology to categorize and catalog everything else in our lives, why is it not there for our wardrobes? And we created it. There's nothing else like it.
So how do women, or how do people get it?
You go to Finery.com. It's completely free. It's a service for women to save them time. And you sign up with your email, and then automatically, instantly, everything you've ever purchased in the last 10 to 12 years will come up in your closet online. So you can see everything you've ever bought.
If it's free, how do you make money?
Right now, we wanted to create a service that would just help women. Ultimately, we want to have a marketplace. So women only wear 20% of their wardrobe, meaning 80% of it's collecting dust. And ultimately, when we have our marketplace, you can either buy, sell, or trade your clothing or donate it if you want. So we'll open up a marketplace to re-commerce sites where they can come in and bid on your items. So we're literally making you money. You can trade your items with women who wear the same size, shop at the same stores, spend the same kind of money that you do, or you can donate it to good organizations. And the idea is not that we want you to stop shopping, but that we want you to consume smarter if you can. And also get rid of the stuff you're not using, so it's not just sitting collecting dust in your closet.
So much not using.
Exactly.
Who's in it with you?
So a good friend of mine, Whitney Casey, is our founder. She actually used to be in news, and we are friends from Austin. She's now based in New York with a company.
You live in Austin.
I do. I live in Austin. Yep. And so we did it together.
You said recently, coming from the Hollywood side of things, I have never seen a more supportive bunch of women than I've seen in tech. They do come together. It's difficult as a young female, but you can do it.
You can.
I don't associate women with tech.
Because there are so few of them in technology. In decision-making positions in technology, 7% of them are women. So in executive level positions, 7% are women, which means 93% of people making decisions are men. And that's why you don't hear about it. And so I think, you know, Hollywood, I found, has been incredibly supportive as far as the women go. But I think because there's such a small percentage of women in technology, they really band together to help one another.
Is it growing in the tech field?
It is. We just launched a week ago, but again, it's
a week
ago. Yes, but we're growing exponentially, which is pleasantly surprising. And I think there's a huge void in the market. There's nothing out there to help women do this, to save them time, and we've created it. So
well, there's move for equal pay and
yes,
women.
Yes, and luckily we've met some really incredible women. Our company is funded by women, founded by women, and run by women, which is incredibly unusual. And I think as women, again, because there's so few of them in tech, they really do come together and support, fund, and help.
Just go to Finery.com.
Yep, Finery.com.
Okay, what's it like being a mom?
It's the best thing in the world. Every cliche is true. Every single cliche. It's exhausting. It's rewarding. You're massively in love with this child. You feel super fragile as a human because they're just exposed to the world. But it's the most incredible thing in the world.
Where is Hank?
He's in Austin. I flew this morning. I woke up at 3:30 this morning, snuck into his crib, gave him a kiss, left, and I'll be able to go home tonight to put him to bed.
And how is Mr. Roddick?
He's a really good dad. He's a really good dad. He loves it.
What's he doing? He doesn't play, right? He
plays with Hank all day long.
He's a home husband?
Well, he is. He's a home husband. He does a lot. He does work, but, you know, he's not having to train 10 hours a day, so he gets to play with his son all the time.
Does he play socially?
He does. He loves playing tennis. He just hates competing professionally. But he played for 2 hours on Saturday. He loves it.
What's he like as a father?
I'm definitely, you know, he had a reputation for having a bit of an attitude on court, so I kind of thought that as a father, he would be the disciplinarian. I'm the disciplinarian. He's a total softie with our son, which is scary. He lets him get away with a lot, and I have to lay down the law. But no, they're like two peas in a pod. They're the boys. They have so much fun together.
Why do you live in Austin?
Because I don't want to be in the craziness of Los Angeles or New York.
Where did Andy grow up?
In Austin.
Oh, so that's his town.
Yep, that's his town. Yep.
After the break, Brooklyn's dream co-star, we'll find out who that would be, her funniest fan encounter. More in a game of If You Only Knew. Back with Brooklyn Decker, Finery.com. Don't go away. We're back with Brooklyn Decker. Don't forget, Finery.com. It's just started.
Just started a week ago. Yep.
Before we go further, your Tar Heels. Now, this is playing on Monday night, so we don't know if they made the finals.
I know, but they're in the Elite Eight.
What did you make of that ending?
I didn't even see it. I haven't seen one game during March Madness. It's the first time ever. Isn't that horrible?
Why not?
I'm a terrible fan. Because I've been launching a tech company. And I'm going on about 3 hours of sleep in a week. So it's not a good excuse, but this is the first season that I have been a terrible, terrible Tar Heel fan, embarrassingly enough. What did you think of it? I heard about it.
You used to go to their games?
Yeah, I usually have been very lucky to go to a Carolina Duke game 2 or 3 times, and I try to go to one Carolina game every season or so. But this year, no.
And your team beat Miss Judd's team.
I know. Sorry, Miss Judd. Yeah, I hear the ending was unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable, yeah.
You have a new film called Band-Aid?
Yes. My girlfriend, Zoe Lister-Jones, wrote, directed, and starred in Band-Aid, and basically hired her friends to come act in it. So I got to act in her film.
Who do you play?
I play her annoyingly perfect friend who has several children, who's just nailing life, and you just hate me in the movie, basically. But the film got into Sundance, and it's coming out this summer. It's
What's
great.
the title mean?
Well, she and her husband in the film are struggling in their marriage, and they decide to get through their problems. They're going to create a band. And so it's called Band-Aid because it's a fix for their relationship, and also music is how they get through the tough times.
Do you do any music in it?
No, thank goodness. No one would go and watch if I did.
We play a little game, Brooklyn, of If You Only Knew. I just throw some... Who was your childhood celebrity crush?
Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Best piece of advice you ever got?
Don't be a dick.
Worst piece of advice you ever got?
Act like an asshole to get what you want.
Person you could switch places with for a day?
Michelle Obama.
Yeah, not bad. Something that never fails to make you laugh?
My child doing anything.
He's funny, huh?
He's hysterical, yeah.
The biggest risk you've ever taken?
Moving into tech.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. Person from history you'd like to take to lunch?
Robin Williams. Went about work the right way, I think.
Guilty pleasure?
Wine, but I'm not that guilty about it. I feel pretty good about it.
Something you're afraid of?
Death, anyone around me dying.
Me too.
Yeah, terrible.
As Woody Allen said, I'm not afraid of it, I just don't want to be there.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
To not exist. To not exist.
Yeah. It's really hard to wrap your head around.
Eternity.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
It's a long time, and I think that's why I create, personally, all these things to help cope with that idea. It's a really...
Don't you wish there were an afterlife?
I'm believing that there is.
Yeah.
Because I think it helps me cope with the fear of death.
I can't make that leap.
Yeah. I think it helps.
Funniest or strangest fan encounter?
Well, you know what? I haven't had that many crazy fan encounters. I will say for my husband, because I feel like his are better, he had someone show up at an autograph signing in a wedding dress, ready to just walk down that aisle and get hitched. Luckily, he didn't, because then, you know, this would have never happened.
Before he met you?
This was before he met me, yes. She was just ready to go.
Was she pretty?
I don't know. I didn't even think to, I was so distracted by the fact that that was kind of, you know, a crazy encounter that I didn't even ask if she was pretty.
How did you meet him?
He sort of stalked me online. I used to host a show about football, and he watched it for 2 years.
He stalked you?
He got his attorney, who was a very good friend of his, to call my manager, and I didn't call him back for 5 months because I thought that was very shady. And ultimately, I called him back, and we're now married, so it worked. Andy always says it's not stalking if the other person doesn't like it.
Was it quick when you met him? Was it?
Yeah, we got engaged. I was a child bride. I married him at 22. We got engaged after 8 months. We did it all wrong.
How much older is he?
Only 5 years.
Music we'd be surprised you listen to?
The Doors, Mamas and Papas, Jefferson Airplane. That was kind of my mom's sect of music. So, yeah, pre-me, but I'm very into it.
Dream co-star?
Again, Robin Williams. Yeah, he was always the one I wanted to work with.
The one food you refuse to eat?
Sea urchin. I just, no.
Ugh.
That's not, they belong in the ocean.
Secret talent?
I can belch on command. That's the first thing that came to my
too.
mind. You can? I feel really good about this.
Me too.
Yeah.
People say it's annoying. I like it.
Me too.
Makes you feel good.
Yeah, it does.
Where we'd find you on a day off?
Snuggling in bed with my child. I mean, it's cliche, but it's true.
Brooklyn Decker in 10 years?
Starting a fund with her business partner, Whitney Casey, funding female-run businesses.
Mother of more than one?
Hopefully a whole basketball team.
You do want 5?
You know, I want 5, Andy wants 2, we'll see where we land. Gotta take it one by one.
When we return with Brooklyn Decker, she'll take your questions from social media. And don't forget Finery.com. Stay with us. We're back with Brooklyn Decker. She stars in a lot of movies. She stars in Grace and Frankie. And she's got a new movie coming, Band-Aid. And, of course, Finery.com. Check that out. Some social media questions.
Okay.
G. Hammond on Twitter. What's your favorite part about being on Grace and Frankie? And do you guys pull any pranks on each other?
Ooh, the behind the scenes, seeing Jane and Lily interact with each other and also just generously share their stories. They share so many stories from their past, and they just never fail to fascinate me.
Sam Waterston's a great guy.
Unbelievable and brilliant, so well-read. He's a Renaissance man. He knows something about everything. Wonderful guy. So is Martin. Everyone. It's really a dream. It's a dream set.
Corey Anderson on the Larry King Now blog. What has been your biggest career challenge thus far?
I mean, shifting careers several times was probably a silly thing to do, but it's you know, it's been a wonderful shift every time. But I feel like that's been the most challenging thing, switching from modeling to acting and then into
KJM 1016. What's the best piece of advice you have for someone entering the tech world?
Oh, if you're a female, find female founders, because they really do support one another. Also, I think learn to code. I'm going to learn to code. I think it's one of the best skills you can have right now, especially as someone young coming up into tech. It's like knowing, you know, a language and living internationally.
It's a whole world, right?
Exactly. It's super important and something I don't know how to do yet, but I plan on learning myself.
Ann Dawson on the Larry King Now blog. You're very funny. Where do you get your sarcastic personality from?
My husband, probably.
Is he sarcastic?
I was much friendlier before we got together. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you sarcastic with each other?
Very much so.
What do you argue about mostly?
Oh, goodness. What did we argue about last time? Let's see. I mean, silly things, you know, that you argue about, when, like laundry and leaving stuff out, like dumb stuff like that. Just it compounds itself.
You ever have a serious argument?
Of course. We've been married, I mean, how many years now?
How long?
8 years in April. So yeah, we've had some serious ones.
Debbie McCullough on Facebook. Are you still close with Chrissy Teigen?
I am, yes.
How often do you see her?
Not as much now as we used to, because we both have crazy careers and children, but I was just at her house last week, so yes.
TJ Seifert on Facebook. Do you enjoy being famous, or does it annoy you at times?
Oh, this sounds like a weird, humble thing to say. I really don't feel famous because I live in Austin. And so I think when you're away from the microscope that is Hollywood, you really don't feel the effects of being in it.
No one bothers you at the supermarket?
No, not in Austin. But I mean, people far cooler than us live in Austin. Matthew McConaughey is there, Sandra Bullock. They're really interesting people there, far more interesting than we are. So no, I never get it at home.
Ashley Miller on the Larry King Now blog. What's your favorite part about being a mother and the biggest challenge about being a working mother?
Oh, my favorite part about being a mother is just loving this thing so selflessly, this baby so much that you would, it's really the first time in your life that you feel ultimate selfless love. And the hardest part, right, it is. And the hardest part about being a working mother is you just feel like you're never doing enough. You feel like you're never doing enough for your company, for your spouse, for your child. Even if you're juggling it all fairly well, something's coming up short. So I think there's just that constant guilt.
Who does Hank go to first?
Mommy. But that's most babies at this age. You know, he's a year and a half, and he's definitely into mommy. But I think once he can really start playing around and roughhousing with dad, he's going to be into daddy.
Who does he look like?
He looks just like his father. Although my husband and I look like we could be twins, which is very creepy in itself. So he kind of looks exactly like both of us. Yeah.
And Abigail S. on the Larry King Now blog. Where would you like to be career-wise in 10 years?
I would like for Finery to be so successful that I can start a fund with my girlfriend who started Finery with me so that we could help female founders, because there are so few females in technology.
Great seeing you, Brooklyn.
Great seeing you, too. Thank you.
A big thanks to my guest, Brooklyn Decker. Make sure to see her in the new season of Grace and Frankie, streaming now on Netflix. Check out Brooklyn's newest clothing and wardrobe venture, Finery.com. And as always, you can find me on Twitter at King's Things, and I'll see you next time.